Oh, wow. So hold on. There was a big insurrection and a coup d'etat. So, Brian, let me just ask you, did Trump leave office or not?
Yeah, dude, because he wasn't successful at trying to do what he was trying to do. He was indicted for blocking the certification of Congress. Like, there is this whole revisionist history where people say, oh, because he wasn't successful at trying the coup that he was trying, that somehow he didn't try it. His mentality is that he has carte blanche to stay in power, to usurp power, to hold it to himself whenever he wants. And pointing to 2020 doesn't prove your point; it expressly disproves your point.
In today's video, Brian Tyler Cohen destroys Michael Knowles on Piers Morgan Uncensored in a fiery debate that gets heated fast. Brian Tyler Cohen calls out Michael Knowles and Piers Morgan's MAGA panel for twisting the facts about Donald Trump's failed coup attempt and the 22nd Amendment. He exposes the hypocrisy, reminds everyone of the truth behind January 6th, and shuts down the revisionist spin right to their faces. So let's dive in and watch how Brian Tyler Cohen shuts down Michael Knowles on Piers Morgan Uncensored.
But would you think that if he was to try and run again, that to me would be a step too far? That's way more significant and serious, I would say, than an argument about a ballroom.
Trump's second term thus far has been good enough that I would cheer if, we could have Caesar Augustus, Donaldus Trump. But it's not going to happen because it's prohibited by the 22nd Amendment. Even the idea of his becoming vice president, it wouldn't work. The 22nd Amendment prohibits that. Now, it's worth pointing out, no less a conservative than Ronald Reagan campaigned at the end of his second term and after he left office before Alzheimer's disease to overturn the 22nd Amendment. So there's a longstanding American tradition that that there is a term limit and it's at the ballot box. And the only one who ever abused that was the Democrat Franklin Roosevelt, who became the American monarch. But all of that is kind of beside the point because we have a data point here. These Democrats who are wailing about Trump never leaving office because he wants to make some improvements to the White House at private expense, they seem to have forgotten that we already tested this in 2020 after Democrats had changed all the election rules, in some cases unconstitutionally. Even amid all of that, Donald Trump left office. And then people missed him so much that they invited him back. So maybe in the meantime, once he leaves and J.D. Vance is president, maybe we can finally fulfill Reagan's dream, get rid of the 22nd Amendment, and then we can get Trump to a non-consecutive third term.
Brian, I want to play a clip from Steve Bannon, obviously
can I,
being very
Piers,
close to Trump over the years. Let me play the clip from Bannon, then you can... hang on a second. I'll play the clip from Bannon. It's on the same theme. Then you can respond. Let's take a look.
You need a third term in order to see that job through.
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28. Trump is going to be president in 28. And people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is. But there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28.
Brian, your response.
So first of all, Michael, if the way that you're going to disprove the notion that Trump is going to try and seek a third term is by pointing to how he reacted in the aftermath of his loss in 2020, I don't think that inspires much confidence. I'm not sure if you remember,
did he leave office or not?
Full-blown, there was a whole ass insurrection.
The whole January 6th thing, I don't know if you missed it.
Oh, wow. So hold on, there was a big insurrection and a coup d'etat. So, Brian, let me just ask you, did Trump leave office or not?
Yeah, dude, because he wasn't successful at trying to do what he was trying to do. He was indicted for blocking the certification of Congress. Like, there is this whole revisionist history where people say, because he wasn't successful at trying the coup that he was trying, that somehow he didn't try it. His mentality is that he has carte blanche to stay in power, to usurp power, to hold it to himself whenever he wants. And pointing to 2020 doesn't prove your point; it expressly disproves your point.
It literally proves the point because he left office, which you just admitted. But now you're
not
saying this
willingly.
But this time he's serious.
I think another way to think about this.
Super insurrection, the worst in American history. Okay, I'll wait for that.
So if somebody,
do you want to place a wager? Do you want to place a wager?
If somebody
tries, I think we can have an honest conversation.
Brian Tyler Cohen and Michael Knowles perfectly captures the ongoing battle between facts and blind loyalty. When Michael Knowles tries to romanticize Trump's potential third term talk, even joking about overturning the 22nd Amendment, it's not just political theater, it's dangerously normalizing anti-democratic rhetoric. And that's exactly what Brian Tyler Cohen pushes back against. Let's be real, the 22nd Amendment isn't some technicality, it's a constitutional safeguard put in place after FDR's four-term presidency to prevent the rise of a modern-day monarch, the very thing Trump's allies seem to crave. Even joking about repealing it underlines how detached this wing of the GOP has become from constitutional norms. And for Knowles to cite Reagan's passing mention of term limits as justification is absurd. Reagan never called for a permanent presidency or undermined elections. Then there's the irony of Knowles claiming Trump peacefully left office in 2021. Yeah, after months of election denial, over 60 failed lawsuits, and a violent attack on the Capitol, pretending that Trump's exit proves his respect for democracy is like saying a burglar respected the law because he fled when the cops showed up. Brian Tyler Cohen is right to call out the revisionist history here. The attempt to reframe January 6th as anything less than a coup attempt isn't just dishonest, it's dangerous. It's the same kind of soft denialism that keeps feeding the extremist fringes of American politics, and Brian cuts through it with facts and accountability, something this debate desperately needed.
About this, that's a little more nuanced than that. I mean, I think the truth is, I think we can all say Donald Trump indisputably left office. I think we can all say Donald Trump left office kicking and screaming. He did every legislation. He made. No, I'm trying to advance the conversation so we don't just have a dogfight the whole time. I'm saying, yeah, there was a fight. Yes, there was resistance. Some of it was legal. Some of it was extra legal. Some of it was flat out illegal. Some of it was nonviolent. Some of it was violent. Some of it wasn't directly from Trump. Some of it was from his support. We get that. But the point here is that Trump did not want to leave office and did everything he could to not leave office, and still doesn't really believe, or at least doesn't state publicly, that he lost the election. And so based on that logic, it's not unreasonable to think that Donald Trump would resist again. And if he resisted knowing that he doesn't have a second term in his back pocket like he did the first time, it's entirely plausible that he goes even harder this time. It's entirely plausible. All the conspiracy theories are possible. And when people who have supported him for years, if not decades, say, look, he ain't going nowhere, that also doesn't inspire confidence that there's going to be a smooth transition of power.
You don't believe this. Would you place any money on the notion that Trump is going to stay in office for a third term?
Just allow me to finish the thought, and then I promise I won't interrupt you. And so when you see that rhetoric, these actions, Trump's statements, then combined with him doing major reconstruction on a rental, as my man said, that does make some people anxious. Do I think Trump is going to stay in a third term? No, because I think that the armed forces, I think in particular branches of government aren't going to allow that to happen because they'll be listening to the new commander-in-chief who will be the elected president. I actually think Trump won't stay a third time, but I do think it won't be without a fight. I think that's plausible.
Mark Lamont Hill and Michael Knowles really exposes the difference between analyzing Trump with logic versus excusing him with spin. Mark Lamont Hill makes a strong point about the danger of pretending Trump's attempts to cling to power were somehow harmless. And honestly, history and evidence back him up. Let's be clear, Trump didn't just reluctantly leave like Michael Knowles tries to frame it. He launched a months-long campaign to overturn an election, pressuring state officials to find votes, trying to weaponize the Justice Department, and inciting a mob that stormed the US Capitol to stop the certification of results. Those aren't the actions of a man who respects democracy. That's the playbook of someone testing the system's limits. And the scary part, he learned just how far his followers and certain politicians were willing to go for him. Mark Lamont Hill is right to say it's plausible Trump could go even further next time. We've already seen loyalists drafted into election boards, states rewriting voting laws, and Trump openly saying he'll be a dictator for one day if re-elected. These aren't slip-ups, they're signals. The more his base normalizes that rhetoric, the easier it becomes for anti-democratic behavior to thrive. And while Knowles insists the institutions will hold, that's a dangerous assumption. January 6th proved democracy doesn't collapse overnight. It erodes through complacency. Mark's warning isn't alarmism, it's realism. backed by recent history. Ignoring those red flags is exactly how democracy starts to crack from the inside out.
So there have been 2 interviews at the weekend, or the last few days, where she's clearly intimated, Jack, that she may have another go at this. I mean, I watched the interview she did in its entirety with Laura Kuenssberg. I thought she just came over as so utterly deluded. Clearly thinks this was a very narrow defeat, that under normal circumstances, if Biden had stood down a bit earlier, she'd have walked it, when in fact the reality is Donald Trump won everything. He won the White House, the Electoral College, the popular vote. He won the whole of Congress. He won every swing state. I mean, it was the biggest shellacking of modern times in terms of the breadth of the victory. Why would she even think of running again?
Oh, no, Piers, I couldn't disagree more. I mean, America's a divided country. This panel's divided in many ways. But if there's one thing America can't get enough of, it's more Kamala Harris. We need more Kamala Harris on TV, more Kamala Harris rallies, more of those incredible concerts, which I attended, many of them, many of the rallies that I went to, just so high energy. We need as much Kamala Harris as America. Actually, she should replace Bad Bunny as the Super Bowl halftime performer. She should just get up there with Megan Thee Stallion, maybe with Bad Bunny, come on out as a guest. I would love her to do every single bit of that.
Well, Brian and Mark have been stony-faced throughout that little statement. So, Brian, let me ask you, this cannot be helpful, surely, to the Democratic Party. I mean, what I'm seeing with the Democratic Party right now, you've got Kamala Harris on this kind of whiny defeat tour, hinting she wants another go at this, which I think would be a disaster. But you also have the progressive, quite hard left of the party beginning to dominate now in Democratic politics. And again, if you're the Republicans, you're probably rubbing your hands with glee that AOC may be the candidate. I mean, what is your view of the way, first of all, what Kamala Harris is doing on maneuvers, but also the way the battle to be the voice and the heart, if you like, and the soul of a Democratic Party is looking like heading towards another election?
I think in general, if Kamala Harris wants to throw her hat in the ring again, like a full primary is not something that's going to hurt anybody. I think having as many voices as we possibly can is just going to be, I mean, the criticism against Democrats as we headed into the 2024 election was that it was not a democratic process. And so inherently, for anybody to say, oh, Kamala Harris can't run, I think is feeding into that same idea. If she wants to run, if she wants to be part of what I promise will be an extraordinarily large primary field, then more power to her. I think more voices is always welcome. It may be the case that she gets only a few percentage points and it becomes very clear that she's not going to be the nominee. So be it. I think that lending ourselves to that democratic process is only going to help more and more. Now, in terms of the broader Democratic Party right now, look, I think to your point, there is a bit of uncertainty as to who the new face of the Democratic Party is going to be, as to who the leadership of the Democratic Party is going to be. We don't have that answer right now, and I know that's not really like a satisfactory answer, but we just don't have that answer, and in large part, that's why the party had felt rudderless for so long. And so, I think that we're going to get that answer relatively soon, but I think that we can see as we head toward the 2026 midterm cycle that really, in large part, these midterm elections are going to be a referendum on the unpopularity of Republicans. We've seen Democrats overperform 12, 14, 16 points from where they were in 2024. So we'll be able to kind of benefit from that as we head toward midterms, but we're going to need some standard bearer as we head toward 28.
And when Posobiec tries to paint the Democratic Party as rudderless, he's ignoring the numbers. Democrats outperformed expectations in the 2022 and 2023 elections, flipping key state legislatures and outperforming polls by double digits in several special elections. Those results weren't a fluke. They showed real voter backlash to far-right extremism and GOP overreach on issues like abortion and voting rights. Cohen's argument also aligns with what data shows. Americans, especially younger voters and suburban moderates, are leaning toward issue-driven leadership, not just party loyalty. So while Jack is busy mocking Democrats for infighting, the truth is that internal debate is a sign of a healthy, evolving party, something the GOP could learn from. Brian Tyler Cohen's focus on democratic participation and results-driven reality easily outweighs Posobiec's mockery and talking points. Brian Tyler Cohen and Jack Posobiec is a perfect example of reason versus performance. While Jack Posobiec leans into sarcasm and theatrics, Brian Tyler Cohen keeps it grounded in reality, and the facts really back him up here. Let's start with the idea that Kamala Harris, or as they jokingly called her, Carla Harris, shouldn't even consider running again. That's just nonsense. Historically, political comebacks are common. Think of Richard Nixon, who lost the 1960 election and came back to win in 1968. In a democracy, the idea that someone shouldn't run simply because they lost before goes against the entire principle of free and open elections. Cohen's point that a competitive primary strengthens democracy is spot on. More voices, more debate, more legitimacy. That's how the democratic process is supposed to work. Pause. Are you getting tired of getting half the story from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite. How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, left, right, and center, are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights into media bias and political trends. Stay informed, think for yourself, and check out Ground News in the description down below.